Well, I'm going to talk about who do you call if you need help. The virtual support team, the VST. You probably heard that going around. We're just going to call the VST. Well, that is a team of support services that's available. It's a group comprised of district, ESU, ESUCC, NDE, and the Ed-Fi product support. So it's a group of people from various expertises. As the Ed-Fi product requires having to use some new features in your system, and some of the data verification that was part of NSSRS Data Manager is now in your SIS, this creates the need for additional levels of support. This group has been created to help and assist districts with issues within the source data. The virtual support team can be combined of a group of people from different levels. Level 1 is the districts. District staff support their users, their administrators and teachers, when beginning to use the advisor dashboard. This would probably be the data steward. Training for the advisor dashboard will come later from a separate ESU team. Level 2 of the VST comprised of ESU staff and staff that can provide SIS support. Level 3 is NDE staff and the ESUCC staff. Will support the tickets escalated from level 2. Level 4 is our Ed-Fi Alliance product support. With a variety of levels of support, we will be able to help each other using our online advisor help ticket system. There will be a session tomorrow on the virtual support team, so please join us when we get into detailed information about the VST and the online ticket system. How do you get help from? Here's the how do you get help page. During the 17 and 18 parallel year, all advisor-related questions should be forwarded to the advisor help email to create a ticket in the JITBIT system. All NSSRS questions should remain going to the nde.helpdesk@nebraska.gov email. So at this time, we're keeping separate support teams, help desk support teams, due to the various levels of support. Moving into advisor, the levels of support are changing from 3 to 4 people on the NDE help desk to around 20 people when we add the VST, the different levels within the VST. So we ask when you submit a ticket to the advisor or the NDE help desk that you be specific on your question so that we get the right people to answer your questions. Sometime after July 1st, the NDE help desk ticket system will merge into the advisor help desk system, which you'll hear JITBIT would be the advisor help desk. All tickets can be submitted there, and this is where it will be even more important that you be specific with your question. Is it dealing with an NSSRS reporting in the follow-up for the previous year, the current year, or is it something with your validation, your single sign-on? So all those different levels of support will be into that advisor help desk ticket system. In the JITBIT ticket system, you can attach screenshots and attach documents to that. So it's really a great system we're going to have. Okay, here's the one you're waiting for. District administrator responsibilities. These haven't changed, so we're just going to repeat what's been out there. We have tools out there that can assist the district administrator in managing the access of your staff in the NDE portal. As the administrator, you are able to view all of your users at your districts who have access to the collections. So under your district admin tab, I'm on the wrong page. There we go. Under the district admin tab, which is only available in your administrator's portal account, there is administrator reports. There are 2 reports there, one by district user report and the collection user report. So if you have staff that, like, you don't know who has access to what collections, you can go out there and review them by the staff person or by the collection. And you should review these periodically so that you, especially when a staff person leaves your district, that you make sure you remove their access. The district administrator is the person who normally signs off on any official document from your district. In most cases, that's the superintendent. The district administrator is the keeper of activation codes for their district. They know who should or shouldn't have access to a particular collection. NDE does not give out activation codes. Under the district admin tab, you can select a collection from the Choose Collection drop-down. You will see a list of activation codes for the collection, and many of those codes have multiple user types. So you want to check and see if you give your staff the appropriate user type. There might be one for view only, there might be one for a district user, and one for approver. So giving them the right activation code is like giving them the correct tool so they can get their job done. It is the district administrator's responsibility that district staff are trained appropriately in the FERPA rules and regulations. We do have a session tomorrow on FERPA with Scott Summers from the NDE Legal Counsel that you can attend for further information on FERPA. The district administrators are responsible for approving the final submissions of data through the school year. You can refer to the reporting calendar on when those dates are. For the 17-18 school year, the approvals are in the NDE Data Manager. For the 18-19 school year, like was mentioned previously before our break, those approvals will be in the advisor validation. So you will see more of what you are approving. And we'll have more information as those are created and ready to be approved. If a district administrator leaves the district, or you have a new district administrator, please contact the NDE Help Desk. There are some processes we need to go to take them out and get the new person registered and signed up. So it's real important that you report to us timely that you're leaving or you're coming to a new district. So these items are not new, but we're just reviewing them. And as you've heard several times through this conference, it takes a team. The verification reports need to be reviewed to ensure that the information is reported accurately. This is not one person's job. Having the correct team members reviewing the data will ensure your data quality. The district administrator, the data steward, and your detailed program staff, they all need to look at those data to make sure it's correctly. And again, as it's been said before, all of this data is reported, is used in calculating funds. Then your approvals are made after all the data is required, all the data is reviewed and deemed accurate. So I'll pass it on to Max for the next section.
First, I just wanted to give you a quick update on the dashboard since we haven't really addressed it yet today. The dashboard, like we said, is just one of the sites that's part of Advisor, and it's just one of the sites that you could reach from the Nebraska Cloud Portal that the ESUCC provides for us. That is the portal.nebraskacloud.org website. Some ESUs are still finalizing, working with some districts to get everyone connected. As we've been doing work days for the past about month and a half, one of our big focuses is making sure that the district administrator can get connected to their dashboard. So we're still working through that. But we hope to have every district be able to connect to the dashboard soon. There is also a new team has been put together so far. It's some members of the ESU virtual support team that are interested in the dashboard, and some of us developers from NDE are joining that team as well. This team is going to help us prioritize work on the fixes and other enhancements we want for the dashboard. They're really going to be the leaders in putting together training for the dashboard in the future so that districts can train administrators, principals, counselors, teachers on how to use the dashboard in the future. And just to be clear, the dashboard, that is really the purpose of the dashboard. It's meant for that day-to-day kind of data for like teachers, administrators, those who are working directly with students. Other reporting is done really, through the validation side or through other reporting tools the state offers. And we'll be talking about as EdFi gets upgraded, as we apply those upgrades. We are also looking at keeping the dashboard upgraded as well. There's actually also a dashboard session tomorrow, I believe, that Tina is putting on to talk more about ways to use the dashboard in the future. All right, the main thing I want to talk to you today is about the future timeline of what's going to happen when with Advisor over the next basically 2 years. Everyone should have this roadmap document. It's the one that's sitting around on your tables. I'll go into a little more details than that, but also, if you look at this session in your guidebook app, you'll see a PDF of the roadmap. If you scroll to the bottom of the session, it's attached to it, as well as a PDF of these slides that we're going through is in there as well. So most of the sessions should have PDFs of the presentations at this point, or hopefully a few more of them will get posted by Wednesday probably. So hang on to your guidebook app if you want to get those PDFs. So what is happening between now and the rest of this year? NSSRS, again, still stressing this, is the system of record. All your 17-18 data is still being reported through NSSRS this year. You go out, use the data manager, upload the template files, same as always. We've talked about that Advisor Validation website already. It has some reports, some error codes on it, some lookups on it. We know we are going to be posting a lot more reports and error codes on that throughout the rest of this school year. The one thing we hope every district does this year while we're in the parallel year is to do the data checking like we've mentioned. really, yeah, you can use the as of today view of the data in Advisor, and that should match what is in your SIS right now. The as of the fall view wouldn't necessarily match for every district if you've changed some of your data in there. And again, like you said, we have 2 different addresses for the help desk tickets, so please direct those to the correct places throughout the rest of this year. Like I said, there are advisor work days going on now. That is through the rest of April. Then in May and June, the NSSRS work days start up again. So those will be our typical NSSRS work days we've offered through ESUs. We have a monthly district advisor meeting, which actually is meeting next on 2 days from now. We'll probably continue that in the future as well, so this is really just me advertising to say I would hope every district can join that call. And we will just, cover some of the technical details about what's happening with Advisor and give you updates about the status and maybe get some of your feedback from that. We also advertise that in the bulletin, so please read your bulletin. As we are going through the end of this year, SRS is currently in testing with some districts, actually syncing their data to the production database. I believe ESUCC will be rolling that out for hopefully all districts by the end of this school year. You will be notified from ESUCC once we have the plans worked out for how to bring you online. We will be releasing the 18-19 data calendar. Some people have been asking for that already. But here's the preview. It's going to be the same dates as what we did this year. We mentioned that before. It's the audit window begins October 15th, and needs to be finalized by October 31st. So a couple of things are happening over the summer, not necessarily in the districts, but some people have been asking about this. Yes, you can shut off your Ed5 publishing once you are sure your year-end data is all synced and ready to go, which, I assume that would happen around early July. SIS vendors will be working on the changes for 18-19 that we discussed earlier. Probably within a month, NDE will meet with the vendors to go over all the technical changes, and they will begin coding those. The help desks, like I said, are being combined over the summer. Probably will still have both email addresses, but they will go to the same place. So we'll be one kind of unified help desk at that point. So come August, and this will we're getting into kind of what happens every year from now on. The first week of August is when NDE will shut down the ability for you to send advisor data. We roll the databases over for the new year with those new year data fields in place, which we will probably have little updates every year. At that point also is when the dashboard rolls over to the new year. So when the dashboard is pointing at the new year, most of it looks blank. A lot of the dashboard is based off of the student and staff that are enrolled in your district right now, according to your data. So that's normal. Don't be freaked out about that. So at that point, the dashboard is empty, but then once you start submitting data, it becomes full again. So hopefully by the end of that first week-ish of August, we have everything up and running for 18-19, But before you can start submitting data properly, you will need to get an update from your SIS vendor. That works differently for every SIS vendor. Some you schedule updates. Some of you are running your own servers and you have to do those updates yourself. In other cases, the vendors may do it for you and you will never even know it happened. But you should look for communications from your SIS vendor about when they are ready for the new school year. And of course, everyone here goes through some new school year process with their student information system, so that process still kind of happens like normal. Which, like I was saying, that you go through your school setup process like normal, like whatever you do now, but then there's a few other steps you have to take because of advisor. And this, people have been asking about this as well. This is what happens each year really going forward. You've got your new update from your vendor installed, then you reestablish your connection, test your connection, make sure you can talk to an advisor and you're good to go. Those key and secrets that we've given everyone, that doesn't change. You have one key that should still be in your vendor. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Then at that point, depending on your vendor, you might do data downloads or check your data dictionary. You may need to map new codes that are in place that year. Like earlier, we talked about that new EL field that has 4 new codes. Some of you may have to set that up in your system. Then at that point, assuming the data has been entered into your SIS, you've set up your calendar, you've got your students, you go through your initial upload of your advisor data. For most vendors, there's a manual process you must do where you manually sync your calendar, your class periods, your room names, the courses and sections you're offering, and then get your initial student enrollment data loaded. So usually that step is a manual process, but it's meant to be just kind of one time. At that point, generally the vendors work, the SISs work so that the data just syncs automatically from then on. So at that point, you just need to stay on top of your error screens if you're getting any errors or dependencies in your SIS. And you'll be up, sending data all throughout the year at that point. So also going on around October, the fall work days like we usually have will now really be focused on advisor. Again, new student IDs are still created through Unique ID, same process there. Staff data, still using NDE Staff ID and our staff reporting app. You still report the staff through there. However, like we've kind of hinted at, there is a minimal amount of staff data you must submit from your SIS to advisor if you want your staff to be able to access the dashboard. So we've been going through the steps to make sure you guys who are the administrators can get that data set up, and in the future this is where kind of each year you check on your staff data, make sure you're setting up the right staff data, because that will control who can see what data, who can see student data in your dashboard. So still in October, like I said before, we're approaching the audit window. Reminder, all data must be uploaded from your SIS. There's no opportunity to put it into Excel. As soon as your data begins uploading, it shows up in the validation website almost instantaneously, depending on the SIS. For the SISs that are sending data, usually almost immediately, you make a change in your SIS, within a few minutes, you should see it on the advisor validation website in the reports and lookups. And then, like we said before, if you made a change that is meant to fix an error, you can then reprocess your errors at that point. We will be focusing on the fall data, like we said. We are very interested in all the data related to state aid, memberships, bed counts, FRL, EL, everything else. This data will begin sending as soon as you do that initial upload step, but come the audit window is really just there to say, okay, now let's really have everyone start focusing on the reports and actually looking at your data and figuring out if something looks off. And then the audit window closes around October 31st, so that's really kind of the same as what has happened this year. Also, we should mention during October about the follow-up collections. 17-18 data follow-ups will still be done through the NSSRS data manager. So this is just a one-time, this is just for a single year as we're making this transition. We want all the 17-18 data to be in the NSSRS system, including all these follow-ups. All the 18-19 data should be in the advisor system. And then we will be shutting down the data manager after October 31st, is our plan for now. Oh yeah, also, we haven't decided exactly when this happens. At some point though, the data you are submitting to advisor right now is considered test data. We don't want to mix up that 17-18 advisor data with any of the actual state accountability data you have. At some point, and we'll listen to districts about this, we will clear that data off so that we have a clean cut of 17-18 data is in the old system and 18-19 is in the new system. So like we said, after come November 1st, the audit window has closed. Basically what happens in the system is that we take a copy of your data at midnight on October 31st and we lock that down. So at that point, that is considered the state accountability data, but it can still be changed, but you would have to submit one of those requests to submit data late or make corrections. You will still submit that same form, which is through the CDC if you need to make corrections. Like Jill said, we haven't decided exactly on the process of how those corrections happen. If they're small corrections, we may do it manually. If they're bigger corrections, we may need to take another copy of just your data or just the corrected data. So we'll be working that out throughout the summer. So kind of winter and ongoing after there. Technically, like I said, the dashboard, as soon as you get your students loaded for the first time in 18-19 and get that staff data loaded into Advisor that says who can get into the dashboard, you can get in there. But just as a reminder, once you've gone through, the fall reporting period, we're all going to be very busy during that time. At this time, everyone should have a real good copy of data that's available for the Advisor dashboard. At that point, our plan is to begin developing the testing materials for that. And like I said, we'll be working with the dashboard communications team to share that with everyone. It's now you can validate your data all year round, basically. As you're entering data, it should be getting uploaded. So that's every day when you're putting in absences. If you make any changes, students drop courses, new students come to your district, that data will be getting sent to Advisor as it changes in your system, and you could go into the advisor validation site and check it right then. So as we get to the end of spring next year, the year-end process will work very similar to the fall. There's an audit window. At the end of the audit window, we make another copy of your data and lock it down. You will be able to see that locked data through the advisor validation site reports. We didn't have that set up for this year, but next year you'll be able to see specifically what does my data look like today, what does my data look like as of that locked data from October. One bit as we're making the transition. So at the end of next year is when you would be reporting your 17-18 student graduates post-school survey data. As part of this transition, we plan to already have the NSSRS data manager closed. We will probably have a small collection to report that data in the transition year, since this post-school survey data is all considered, you're reporting from students from a year ago. It's considered 17-18 data when we hit the fall here. But as you'll see, that's going forward, we will be doing everything under advisor. So yeah, just to hit the highlights of what happens in 2019-2020. Again, there'll probably be some updates we do each year that the vendors will have to code for and get prepared for, and we'll be telling everyone about those changes. Come fall of 2019-2020, the follow-up collections and that post-school survey are now also done through advisor. And advisor, we keep the past year's databases open. So even though, since we took a snapshot of your 18-19 data, we took that snapshot and locked down your data from 18-19 at the end of the school year on June 30th, actually. You can still go change your 18-19 data at that point. It doesn't affect the state data that we have until we do these follow-up collections. So basically, in the fall of 1920, we go take another follow-up snapshot and lock that data from your 18-19 database again. So just like in your SIS, hopefully you are able to flip back to the previous year, make updates. That data can still be sent up to us. And then our plan for now is the advisor dashboard we hope to really push and begin adopting for end users come the 2019-2020 school year. So I'm going to send it back to Jill here to talk about some resources.
Max. Just like with NSSRS, we're trying to provide you some additional documentation that you can utilize at your district to help you understand what it is you need to be doing. One of the big differences between what we've done in the past and what we're doing now is, of course, you're not sending us like templates of data. We don't know specifically where in your SIS each data element is that you have to send to us. So what we have done is create a document that we've actually called simply the Advisor Data Elements document. And I'm going to show you that here in just a little bit, but if you'd like to see a copy of the 2017-2018 version of this document, there is a link here to the website. You can also just Google advisor resources, making sure you put an E in advisor at the end, and that page should come up. We are all currently working on the 18-19 version of the document, should have it up before long. A couple of the documents that we have up there is an interchange requirements document. It's typically focused more at the vendors, but we do find that some of the more technologically savvy users like this document in addition. We also have a discipline guidance document that we are still working on. It is in draft version right now. We hope to have it up for you soon. If you're interested more in the discipline stuff, we will have a couple of sessions on that tomorrow. And we will be putting additional documents out here in the future also, including the calendar, the much promised calendar. But I do want to talk a little bit more about this data elements document. First of all, we couldn't put, like I said, we could not put templates up there. So what we did do was we divided everything into certain categories. And the categories, we tried to make them to be very logical. There's one for enrollment, there's one for discipline, there's one for attendance. There's a category for student, parent, and demographics. Because yes, there is parent data that you're submitting through the SIS. It's not going into state reporting, it's just dashboard data. But it is going in from your SIS into the ODS. So we're including those elements in this document. Obviously, if you look at it and you feel like there's something missing, contact us, let us know. We tried very hard to make sure we got all the elements in there. But it's a new way of looking at the data, so we may have missed one or two of them. What we ended up doing, once we developed these categories, is we put each of the elements into one of the categories. And each of the elements is given a name, obviously. That name won't necessarily match what you see in your SIS. So you may need to kind of think about, what would this be called in here, do a little bit of searching, maybe search for the valid values that you know are in it. We include a definition for the element. Some of those are pulled from CEDS, which is a federal education data standard, or not federal, the Common Education Data Standard put out by NCES, right? Maureen? Okay, I got that right. The use, and this is a very important part of it. We tell you whether or not this particular element is used for dashboard purposes, for state reporting purposes, or both. The important part here is that if it is out there for state reporting purposes and it applies in the situation that you're in, it has to be reported. Dashboard purposes, you're a little more flexible in whether or not you send it, but obviously if you don't send it, that particular area of the dashboard won't work, or it won't show up on the dashboard. If there's a list of valid values that we need to see, it is also presented there. We also show you the code related. Again, your SIS may not implement the codes that you see out there. So it's not quite as straightforward as everything was with the templates, where you knew that you had to send up M or F for male or female. Your SIS over here may put M and F. Yours over here may put male and female. Over here, you may have radio buttons. Over here, you may have a drop-down box. There's different implementations, and we can't give you documentation for all of that. You've got to go to your SIS for those. And then finally, if there's some additional guidance, just like we had in the NSSRS student instructions, if there's additional guidance, we're trying to provide it here. I guarantee you that that additional guidance will grow as time goes on, and we find that there's more things we can provide to you to help you understand the elements or understand the use of them. So I'm going to show you really quick here. Here's one example, and I pulled this one up because it is actually a little different. You'll see I have the name of the element. In this case, it's sex or gender. Here's the use for student use, because you do submit that particular element for both student and for parent. So if you submit it for student, it's used both in the dashboard and for state reporting. If you submit it for parent, it is used only for the dashboard. And then we get a definition for it, and then the two elements, the two valid values for it. So we repeat this over and over in the document for each of the elements. If you find anything you think is not correct, if you want to provide us additional feedback on this document, we welcome it. We want to make it work for you as districts. If you think there's a better way of organizing it, we worked hard on trying to organize it. Initially, we put everything in alphabetical order. That's what I did, because I thought that made perfect sense. And then The other people on the team said, no, that's a little too confusing because, you had one student-related element next to a grades-related element. It didn't make sense to them. So we did finally put it into the different groups. Finally today, last thing I'd like to do is introduce you to everybody on our team who works on NSSRS or on Advisor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have them stand up. So team, get ready. Kaur Tat. Satya Patana Raju, she actually couldn't make it. She's 7 months pregnant, so she decided to stay home. Suresh Charlu, Denise Schuyler, Jenny Carter, you've met her already. Jeannie Nichols, Naomi Coles, she's our SOS on the help desk. She stayed back to run the help desk. Pam Taggart, Abhishek Das, Janice Snitz, me, Kalpana Bhupathi Raju, Max Reiner, you've met him, Sita Reddy, and then Russ Vogel and Ya Lee. They are really kind of making sure the wheels stay on the existing bus, so to speak. As the rest of us work very hard on Advisor, we couldn't do it without them either. So yeah, please give them all a nice round of applause. And if I forgot one of you, I apologize. So now we're ready for questions again. We understand we've given you a lot more information. You may have more questions now. So we're again giving you an opportunity to go ahead and raise your hand. Someone will bring a microphone to you, and we'll try to get your questions answered. Okay, you can't tell me we answered all of your questions the first time around. Yes, one over here.
So when NWEA uploads map scores, will it just be the spring ones, or will it upload for every time a district gives assessment?
Currently what's happening with NWA MAP is we get periodic files from them, so it would go throughout the year. At this point, we get them, we make sure that they're in the right format, and we upload it. We've actually uploaded 2 right now. There is one from the fall of 2017 and one from winter of 2018. Again, if you find that your students are missing, even though they took the test, you might want to check to make sure you put the NDE student ID in and not the local ID. It will not upload to the dashboard without the NDE student ID. If you want it to be used to replace NAI starting in 18-19, it has to have the NDE student ID. We have found a couple of districts where there's only a few students. And what we found was that district, but the local ID, the students who are showing up transferred in, and the district they're transferring in from use the ND student ID. You're going to see that student's results whether they took it at your district or not. So if they took it another district, then moved in, you'll see their map results. And that will be true also of NSCAS and the former NISA reporting.
I'll first have a comment, and that is I'm really glad we're getting rid of having to call for deletes, because I assume that's happening, correct?
Yes, the assist vendors pretty much program for deletes to occur. If something happens and we can't get them, we will work with you on it. But yes, you should not have to contact us for deletes anymore.
Okay, and the second thing is, where are we with SRS? I know there's some sessions tomorrow,
Yes.
but that's a biggie.
I am going to have Scott talk to you about that real quick, or Mike.
I'll wait. I'll talk to him, Wade.
Wade, yes. Wade talked to you about SRS.
Yeah, we're going to have 2 sessions tomorrow, and we are largely ready to go. We're going through a couple of our last little minute bugs, cleaning up stuff, but for the most part, SRS is ready to go, and we'll be talking a lot about that tomorrow.
Okay, and what we have told all SIS vendors is there has to be a way for a district to choose whether their SPED data goes through the SIS or through SRS. And if you choose it to go through SRS, starting next year, it will have to be connected, and it'll come in through there instead of coming in through your SIS. More questions, please. you're wondering it, someone else might be too.
I don't remember what the dates were for shutting off from the 2017-18 into the 2018-19 school years. How will that affect summer school?
What you're going to have to do for summer school is, if your summer school data applies to 17-18, you will be able to continue loading it through the NSSRS files in that fall window. There will only be one fall window. In the past, we've had 2 of them. We're going to combine them into one because all the data needs to be submitted by October 31st. There used to be 2 follow-up windows. If it is 18-19, then you'll allow it to flow in through your SIS. You'll need to make sure that data gets loaded into your 18-19 student information system.
I'm not sure if this is a question for you or not. They were talking about the post-school surveys, and I used that clearinghouse information that's on the NSSRS validations page. Will they have that in the advisor as well?
Yes, I mean, we don't have any plans to stop providing that information, and right now I expect that we'll just simply also provide it through that. It seems to be a good way of getting that data back to you without having to create another website. So I'm not even sure where you are right now. Okay. So yeah, I think we'll probably do that. I'll continue doing that for you. Yeah, we haven't talked about loading it automatically. That might be a future enhancement. Another question?
During break, I was asked what happens if October 1 falls on a weekend?
What do we do currently for sped dates? It falls on the next business day? Yeah, so it'd be next business day. Basically, whatever we did previously for sped, that's pretty much what we're going to be doing for all of the count dates now.
I may have missed this, I apologize if I did, but for right now, we have 2 options for the summer exits, to be able to report them against the previous year in the new year, and or just report them as exiting immediately in the new year. Obviously, with the 17-18 being locked down and only being able to report 18-19 going forward in the advisor, is our only option then just going to be reporting in the new year?
First, the 17-18 to 18-19 is a little different than going forward. 17-18 to 18-19, obviously you could still load them in your 18-19 and then exit them. Excuse me. But you also would have the option of exiting them in 17-18 by uploading a template through the end of October. Starting next year, between 18-19 and 19-20, you should be able to just simply make that change in the previous years or the ending year's ODS, and when we take that snapshot at the end of October for the previous year, we should get that updated enrollment. So you wouldn't need to, because it's automatically flowing all the time, you shouldn't need to add them to this year's just to exit them. Exit them out of the previous year, we'll take that end of October snap for the previous year, or capture it for the previous year, and we should have that graduate or exeter. We do have a lot of sessions coming up here. Tomorrow, there's one on attendance. That includes calendar data. There's one on discipline. There's one on the dashboard. There's one on the VST team. There's one on miscellaneous items that we couldn't fit anywhere else. That's called potpourri, appropriately enough. So there's a lot of sessions for you to see tomorrow. If you have any additional questions, please ask them now. Otherwise, please try to find one of us. We are still planning on having the vendor session start at 4 o'clock. So please take advantage of our, oh, another question. Hi, Terry.
Well, hello. I'm just asking a question that I have been asked from a district.
Okay.
And that is that, let's say a student is identified as ELL in District A, but then moves to District B. When they enroll that student previously, they would have to go through some motions to identify the student as ELL. with this new system, will that tag follow them to the District B? When they put in their 10-digit ID, will they know that they're ELL already?
We don't have that to be set up right now, the way we're going to have 1819 going. If that's something we need to do and make available in the Visor website, we need to talk about it so that we could do that. Okay? So actually, right now it would, but the way we're doing 1819, one of the problems, I don't know if any of you have been working on 1819 have noticed, 1718, is sometimes you'll put up a student demographic and then the student will move to another district and suddenly that demographic changed. We had the problem of a student who went from being, I think, female to male. And that was strictly the second district that enrolled them marked them wrong. Well, all that information was on one record in the database that wasn't tied to your district. Well, starting next year, we're going to tie that information to a district because that information is important for accountability purposes. So the EL flag is another one of those that will be tied to the district. If we need to start providing some of those previous values from another district in the same year to subsequent enrollees, we need to talk about it so we can make those updates in the validation website. Yes?
I have a question.
Here comes Dean. He'll get you. We want to make sure Matt and Dean get their steps in today.
Thank you, Jill.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dean. So from a vendor's perspective, as NSSRS gets decommissioned slowly, how do we place it on the roadmap? Because we have so many, extracts and things like that built in. When do we kind of think about end-of-lifing it?
Basically, any 17, 18 extracts need to continue. And once you've rolled over a new version for 18, 19, they don't need to be there. However, the 17, 18 still need to be there through the end of October. October 31st is the last date we're going to accept those templates. It also might be helpful if you have the 17, 18 post-school survey that they're going to give us in the spring of 19 available in that format too. But other than that, it will end.
And a follow-up to that, you have the audits as well. So should we plan on keeping those audits for a little longer so that districts can use it? Of course, this is a question that I can always ask them what they want to do with it, but I just wanted your thoughts on it.
I'm not sure, are the audits there different than the audits that we have? Or are you speaking the ones we have?
No, it's the same audits, yeah.
Okay, we're still going to have the audit windows. It'll just look different in the new year because basically the difference between the audit windows then and now is we wanted them to have all the data uploaded by the audit date and then we'd help them look at it. Now we want them to have all the data fixed in their SIS by the audit date and then we'll help them look at it. If you have some reports that can help them with that, then I'm sure they would be helpful. I think that would be very helpful to continue having. Anybody else? Okay, well, we will be around. Come find one of us if you have a question you didn't think of, you haven't asked yet. 4 o'clock, the vendor session's open. Please visit the session for your particular district's vendor. And there will also be NDE staff in there to answer any questions that may come up during that time. Thank you guys for coming today and enjoy the rest of the conference.